staff. So that's why people love our basketball coverage in particular. And our football coverage is good, but the problem is the basketball coverage is so great that sometimes,
right.
It creates a standard that's just almost too high.
What about
if you like that, that's what we do really well.
What about the baseball coverage?
Baseball coverage, we actually had a couple reporters out at the doubleheader or the games last weekend.
Maryland?
Unfortunately, Illini didn't have their best weekend, but Coach Hartlieb's got them rolling up until that, playing well. And then the other sport that people aren't really hearing about, but the women's softball team is killing it this year. They've got a shot. Now, you've got to win games, and you got to have some good fortune. But their pitching is so strong this year that they've got a shot at winning the Big Ten. So you're seeing across the board, you're seeing these teams get better. And then when you take a look, I'll tell you where I'm really hopeful is Shauna, over at the new women's basketball coach.
Yeah.
Holy cow. This lady is like very similar to Underwood in terms of we're going to win, or Bielma for that matter. We're going to win. I have a plan. We're going to execute the plan. We will win. And if you remember, Coach Underwood took a lot of arrows the first 2 years because things didn't go great. But he's like, I got to get the right guys. We've got to create a culture. And then the next 3 years, he has the best 3 years that Illinois has ever had in Big Ten basketball. Brett Bielma, of course, he dominated the Big Ten West as the coach of the Wisconsin Badgers, the hated Wisconsin Badgers. And now he's come back. He's got all those experiences, plus he's spent a couple of years working with a guy by the name of Belichick. I think he's a decent coach.
That's all right.
And now he's applying some of those lessons to the football program. So, what I see with Josh Whitman is he is, he's getting more and more effective with his hiring, and we're starting to see the Illini win on different sports, be they, obviously you expect it in golf with Coach Small, but, be it the non-revenue sports or the big revenue sports. And once they start clicking, I think you're going to be in a point where maybe it's the 20s belong to the Illini. For those of us who grew up in the 80s, we heard the 80s belong to the Illini. And I really feel like for the first time since Mike White and Lou Henson were in tandem that we have two stud coaches on either side of right there on Kirby, and then the other thing is what Josh Whitman did last year when he offered Antigua, a lot of dollars to stay as the Illini assistant coach, and he ended up leaving. When he hired that staff, you got a fantastic basketball staff. You have a fantastic football staff. Again, you go back to the last time we had assistant coaches as talented on both sides of the sports was back in the 80s. And you win in college sports, you've got to have great coaches. And Illinois has lined that up, and now it's time to let them recruit and see who they can get, because I'm pretty confident that if you go to a practice and you watch these coaches, if you give the either set of coaches good players, they're going to beat the same talent level or better because they're better coaches. So I think it's a good time for Illini fans, and I'm telling you, the next, some guys are going to drop out of the NBA draft. So the next month, I think that's a June 1st deadline to return to college. So you'll see guys who are in the draft who might drop out of the draft and then, be able to come to other schools. So I think what you'll see is there may be some more activity in the next week or so, but then there might be a guy or two, depending on what happens with what their feedback is in the draft, who might, go and, have opportunities as well. So it's an interesting situation, and it's fluid. I mean, shoot, we could find out. We could hang up the phone here and find out. The Illini got agreements from 2 or 3 guys, or we could wait 2 weeks and then all of a sudden boom. But I think you'll see at least a couple more dominoes fall. And if I know this coaching staff, they're not going to be like some guy who averaged 4 minutes a game, 0.3 points and 0.1 assists. They're going to get guys who can come in and make a difference, and that's what makes it so fun.
And when does this portal close? Is it June 1st, or
well, what happens is today's the last day, allegedly, because the NCAA has really waffled on a couple things, but today is the last day to enter the portal, 11:59 p.m. tonight, and still be able to transfer and be eligible immediately. So in theory, if you were to enter the portal tomorrow, you would then have to sit out a year like normal.
Right.
So you've got to do it today. Now, when we say today, there is a caveat that the schools have up to 2 days to publish that. So we could find out, let's say, Monday, late in the day, that a couple big names got into the transfer portal, and they're not late. It's just that the school has to process stuff and send the paperwork, and it doesn't get announced until after that. And then other guys will go right out on Twitter and announce it to the world. So you just don't know how they're going to filter it out there. But so you'll have an opportunity, through the end of today. And then there is some issues because the NCAA has been on the wrong side of a lot of court cases. There are a few college players, and I wouldn't fall into this, but who are being told, hey, if you're late into the portal, the NCAA doesn't want to get sued, and they're going to let you transfer immediately anyway. After what I saw with Kofi losing 3 games for a pair of shorts that he sold, and then all the money went to charity, he didn't make a penny off of it. I don't know that I would feel like I want to test the NCAA's ability to make common sense decisions. But I would say that, the majority of the people who will be eligible to compete next year without sitting, they need to make that decision by 11:59 tonight. Well, so there's a lot of intrigue going on.
Yeah, there's.
Well, we got another Lincoln native over there coaching baseball, Coach Kirk Courtright over there, so...
Well, there we are. Now, see, I will tell you, I am not a baseball expert. So I would definitely, that is nice to know. It's amazing how, Lincoln has connections, everywhere. A small town, but yet there's just seems to be a lot happening.
You go over and get some press out of him. Give him some press. See how he's doing.
Yeah, well,
I had discussion with him.
The bottom line is let's face it. The assistant coaches are the ones who really, they're the ones who bring that talent pipeline in, and those are the guys who have a huge effect on the on-field product. And I think a lot of times the average fan doesn't understand how critical they are in drumming up that interest of getting good players in front of the head coach, and then giving the head coach an opportunity to, reinvigorate the talent pipeline. And so you really can't underestimate what those guys bring to the table.
So I have a question that I don't understand. Imagine that. I don't understand a lot of things. Where does this, at what point in time does the college football, basketball, baseball player find out about what he can do to, endorse things and make money? You know what I mean? Like, is that something that can be offered before he actually goes to that school, or is that something he finds out once he gets to that school? How's that work?
Well, I will tell you that the way it was originally done was that the NIL would not be a part of the recruiting pitch. So what you're having is there's a lot of schools that have and they're not affiliated with the schools, but they have organizations that are putting together the NIL donations and stuff, and then they are meeting with players to get those things set up. And I don't think there's coordination, with the coaching staffs, at least the way it was originally intended. And but I don't know how it has evolved. And to be honest with you, because of the NCAA's fear of getting sued again and losing again, it's kind of the Wild West right now. They've kind of got this is, what we want to have happen, but they haven't really broke down, into how it must happen. So, like when you see, Nigel Pack from Kansas State getting that deal from Miami, I got to be honest with you, I don't know exactly how that broke down. Did he meet with a separate NIL name, image, likeness group, and they set up a deal, and then he talks to the coaches, and then he talks to the NIL people? I'm not certain how it happened. And then you have you have big boosters out there saying, hey, every player at Miami is going to get this much money. So I have no idea how it's actually operating right now. And to be honest with you, that's one of those facts that I guess we're all probably better not knowing.
We'll find out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really kind of the way it is. I mean, let's think about this. If you look at, for instance, you look at coaching legends of the past, and John Wooden was approximately a 500 winning percentage coach until he met a gentleman by the name of Sam Gilbert. And then all of a sudden, people like Lou Alcindor are coming to UCLA to play basketball without ever seeing the campus and getting on a plane from New York City to become a college student in LA. And nobody knows what happened. I don't know what happened. We've all heard the stories of the SEC cars,
Sure. Yeah.
With that, and meanwhile, Bear Bryant and Woody Hayes and some of these guys. So I don't know exactly what the rules, how they're going to enforce it. And I think what I listened to in a meeting I was on is the thought process is that the NCAA is going to let this thing. They're going to kind of watch it, and then in the next couple of years, going to try to sand off the rough edges. Mm-hmm. The challenge you're going to look at is the inside baseball of college sports. But right now, the Big Ten used to be led by Jim Delaney, fantastic, probably the greatest commissioner in the history of college sports. And when he signed all the big deals for media back in 2017, I believe, roughly in that time frame, he only signed them for about 6 years. He didn't do this 10, 15-year deal that the SEC and the ACC did. So now there are considerations that, Peacock with their streaming wants to get involved with the Big Ten, which drives up the bidding price. So there are rumors that the Big Ten contract for TV and streaming could, when it gets signed, for into the TV and streaming rights, which would be approximately double what the SEC is getting.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, SEC will doubtlessly, force a renegotiation of some type. So what you're looking at is the NCAA is increasingly becoming irrelevant. But the thing to really watch out for is if the Big Ten is going to do, get a huge dollar amount for streaming and television rights, they can maximize that by targeting a few really good, schools that have good education, because the Big Ten is not going to, pull in a university that's not accredited. And you would also have one in the big TV market. So look for people like USC, because Los Angeles is the second biggest TV market in the country. Look for people like Stanford, because, again, another great school. It's in the number 5 market, which is San Francisco. You look at University of Washington, another good school. Now their athletics have had better days, but a very good school. They're in the number 12 market in Seattle. So look for a few of those Pac-12 teams to be pursued by the Big Ten if the opportunity is for that home run television and streaming contract that would allow them to bring in 3 more of the top markets to go with Chicago. You've got New York, you've got Philadelphia, you've got Detroit, you've got all those cities in Ohio. So you're going to see the landscape go crazy, and I don't know if the NCAA is going to be able to keep up.
But I don't know if it's good or bad for the sport yet, this paying them to play, but I just feel like
you saw what Pac ended up with at Miami, and then you saw that one of the players then came out and said, I'm going to go into the portal because I want to renegotiate. I want an NIL deal that reflects the fact that I led the team to an Elite Eight, which does wonders for your team morale, I would assume, as well. It's like and you just wonder, like, these poor kids. Who's whispering in their ear, telling? I mean, if you're going to say something like that, there's better ways, and I have no idea what can see where they would just block themselves off from the rest of the NCAA. Think about it. If there's approximately 80 teams, and you do, a Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12, all playoff, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. And then they wouldn't have to split it with everybody. And you could even see where they could do a 32-team NCAA tournament, and they wouldn't have to split the money 275 ways. And what started this whole thing was when Jim Delaney did the Big Ten Network, back in 2009, 10, and 11, when he was kind of putting that all together. When he did that, he was thinking, if CBS can afford to write a check for $1 billion for the rights to the NCAA tournament, how much money are they making if you can write a check for that much?
Yeah, not blink an eye.
Exactly. And so that's what started this whole thing. Is Jim Delaney's like, well, if we have, let's say, 4 conferences, approximately 80 members, and each of them has their own network, then we don't have to pay a network to broadcast us. We can do it ourselves, and we can sell the ads, and then we can just do, like, for instance, if you wanted to determine who has the rights to a football or basketball playoff game, then you just, you use, like, whichever team is the better seed, it goes on their network. Nobody cares because they're going to take all the money and bundle it up together anyway. So I just think in the end, I think we're going to see a different thing, and I wonder because, in the 1990s, when the NFL, went with the free agency and salary cap, everybody said that that would be the death knell of the NFL because guys would change, teams, and then you're just basically cheering for laundry or uniforms, not players. And yet the NFL is more popular now than ever. So will this free agency in college sports, will it rub people the wrong way and hurt it, or will it just lead to the fact that with the transfer portal, you can be a horrible team, and in 1 year you can get enough people to turn around and basically, go from a nowhere to a contender? And will that keep fans excited enough that they won't mind the free agency? So they're kind of on a razor's edge here, seeing which way it'll break. But right now, when I see the coaching staff that Illinois has, I see the support they get from the athletic director. I see the Illini Guardians. You can go to IlliniGuardians.com. They actually are the NIL organization that helps, the Illini. When I see that, this system may be really good for Illinois.
Well, you look at it that way, and it could hurt the mid-major colleges.
Looking in, and then he has a breakout sophomore year, and then he tells you bye-bye. I'm going,
Right.
I'm not going to play at ISU. I'm going to go play at Illinois.
Chase the money.
Big time.
Yeah, and it's just like a farm club.
Yes.
Illinois State, a good example. That kid over there, had a good year, and now he's gonna, make some money somewhere. But that's gonna hurt the Illinois State program with.
Well, here's how I would do it. If I was the Illinois State coach, and the people in Bloomington are thankful I'm not, but if I was the Illinois State coach, especially the guy's got experience at Illinois and Ohio State. I would look, can I grab some transfers from the Big Ten, because they know me. Mm-hmm. So a guy who wants to step down and get more minutes, I'm going to try to grab 2 or 3 transfers who are frustrated at a Bigs come to me, and then I'm going to build a Wichita State like used to be in Missouri Valley before they moved up, or I'm going to build what Creighton built before they moved that. They're going to have to sit out a year.
Yeah.
And that's how I would build my team if I was ISU.
Yeah, and they added Rob Judson to the staff this year, and so that's a guy that's been around for years and years and years. A little different, a little different than what he's used to, but he's a guy that can go out and get these players, because he's been there, he's done that. His name's well known through the basketball community. I think that's a great signing for them. But now I guess you just comes down to making it happen, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah, and the other thing is if I was there and at ISU, I would be thinking like, okay, what can I do to leverage Illinois Wesleyan grads, who are in town who like Illinois State deals, because you're competing against a group of colleges who aren't typically going to have that much.
Right. And
Bloomington is it's a very well-funded small city, in terms of going to battle with the mid-majors. I think Illinois State, if they are managed properly, could be very successful in this system. But I don't know that you want to be homegrown. Like, for instance, a guy like Brandon Lee, he's practiced with Illinois for 2 years.
Yeah, and that's
could
true.
turn a lot of mid-majors into junior colleges.
You left a major insurance company over at Bloomington, and we got a dirty look here. Country Financial.
Yep, they're right there. Yep.
We're sponsoring the show today, and you're bringing up the other guys.
Yeah, well,
Joe.
My wife works for State Farm, so I apologize.
Well, that's all right.
Joe works for Country Financial, and that's who's sponsoring the show today. And we got to give him a plug, or we'll never hear the end of it.
Well, get Country Financial Insurance, have a Mellow Cream donut, and go to Four Corners Lube, and make sure that your car's running right.
All right.
See, he knows.
Tell you what, you're doing all right.
Absolutely.
You know what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
Hey, here at Illini Guys, I'm calling you on the Illini Guys Iridium satellite phone, and I'm drinking my Illini Guys Coke Zero with 0 sugar.
See, there you go. I tell you what, you're more big time than we are. We're still small time.
Yeah,
I'm not certain that we're big time, but we certainly enjoy your guys' show, and I'll actually pop in occasionally and listen to it on a Saturday morning. So,
well, come visit.
Yeah. We apologize for that.
I actually enjoy it. It's good when people actually have fun on the radio. We try to make our show fun, where people think that we're actually enjoying what we do. And so much radio nowadays is just people whining incessantly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they want to stir it up.
I laugh when I listen to your show. I like to listen to radio with a smile on my face.
And after you listen to us, it really has to make you feel good about what you guys do out there.
Your intelligence level has went up once you listen to us.
When you start at the bottom, it's not hard for that intelligence level to go up.
We're a feel-good story for all our listeners.
We're just trying to get to the bottom,
Feel good about yourself.
We're 10 feet deep, but WLCN's been around in Lincoln forever, and Jim does a great job of getting the community involved and getting us out and doing things. And
wrong.
You have to give Jim some credit. Come on.
Oh, no. Trust me. Like I said, I grew up I think we lived there till, like I said, I think second grade. And so and to tell you how old I am, my dad, we went to Trinity Lutheran, or no, Zion Lutheran. I'm sorry, yes. Trinity was in Bloomington. We went to Zion Lutheran, and my dad taught Sunday school, and then occasionally he would do different things, he did high school kids, and so he did different activities and stuff with them, and in the evenings, and then he would get Gazzardo's pizza.
Ooh.
And then I would basically, anytime that he did something with the kids, I was like, whatever. And then as a little kid, but then he'd go, well, we're going to have Gazzardo's. And I'm like, all right, I'll tag along. And so I was eating Gazzardo's pizza in, 1971, 72, in that era, because I was born in 67.
Well, we're sitting about 25 feet from the front door.
You're going to have to bring the crew down here, and we'll make a day of it. We'll start out with some mellow cream, get some Gazzardo's, and we have a new ice cream shop here as well, Top Hat Creamery.
I will tell you, I'm a big ice cream fan. I'm big, so I'm a food fan. But I will tell you that if I have mellow creams and then Gazzardo's, even for a guy who can eat as much as I can, you're going to test my capacity, because if I go to those two places first, willpower is not my big thing, so I would probably be in trouble.
Well, we're having a couple in Republic.
Yeah, we have a craft beer establishment right next door. So, yeah, we got it all right here.
Holy cow. Yeah, no wonder you guys are out and about all the time. I thought you were making a sacrifice. I didn't realize that you were basically getting, like, the great food and drink, and so my total impressions just changed.
Yeah, we got the best furniture place in Logan County as well, Jake's Furnishings.
So you're sitting there in a great recliner.
Oh, he doesn't give those away.
No, I mean,
I did today.
Yeah. No, we're up at Country Financial. He just rolls out the old office chairs.
Yeah.
So
well, that's even better. Yeah, so you're going to get something that's actually comfortable.
Yeah, I think we'll be at Jake's next week.
So that basically, So much for me thinking you guys were going through some sort of hardship. So you're out there broadcasting, the elements.
For being a crap show, we are spoiled.
So much that you used to tell your wives, every Saturday morning, there goes the diet.
Yeah. Cheat day.
The mellow cream comes by, and hey, honey, you know what? This week I had this one. I held myself to 6.
May as well.
And I got to tell you, back when you had mellow cream, these things have tripled in size.
Oh, they are.
Since Joe has taken over.
They have a new name.
Yeah.
So, and you can tweet that into the Twitter account there. What you want to nickname these oversized long johns?
I tell you what, I'm gonna have to do that. And my mom and dad still live in Bloomington.
Okay.
So if I bring up mellow cream enough in a conversation, they're retired now, and my dad will drive to Lincoln and get some.
Well, there you go. And I can tell you this: we've looked. There is not a better donut in the Bloomington area than Mellow Cream Donuts in Lincoln, Illinois.
Well,
I'm not gonna argue with you. Again, I resemble the remark, so I'm actually pretty good. I've always told people, I would tell somebody about food, and then they would ask my wife, and I would say, look at my wife, she's skinny, look at me, I'm not. Why would you care what she thinks about food? I mean,
very true.
So I'm saying, but Mellow Cream, trust me, because when we would drive through to go to, if we're in Lincoln, we would always have to loop in and get one. And, my wife's like, do we have to go in and get this? It's not good for you. And I'm like, that's the whole point.
Bad for you.
The stuff is spectacular. It tastes great. And then as the boys, I got 3 boys, so they were always 100% behind me.
And with how Joe makes these, I mean, they almost take all the carbs out.
Yeah, they're a healthy donut.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I had heard they were low carb and also low fat. So
something
that
like that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't have the exact numbers on that, but it's something.
I mean, low is relative.
Well, yeah, I mean, low depends on, like I said, Earth is a small place when you compare it to Jupiter.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It all depends.
We're kind of going by that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like my diet. If I lose 10 pounds, it's like throwing a deck chair off the Titanic. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
We had a guy in college one time, and this guy was a big dude. And one time he lost like 40 pounds, but that took him down to 360. And he was very angry, and I had to pull him aside, and I said, because nobody noticed, and I said, hey, you know what? You're doing a wonderful job. This is great. I'm 100% behind you. but you know, a lot of people they won't notice that difference.
No.
And then he got mad at me.
Yeah, not going to
Then I
notice.
learned to just you know, when somebody you know has a cry out for help, you just try to like you don't hear it because you're just going to get in trouble if you try to help. That was the lesson.
Very true.
But no, I tell you what though, we were so happy that we love the fact that we can have our show on and then have your local show right there. That's what I think people in Illinois they need, because who wants to turn on ESPN radio and hear about the Yankees and the Red Sox for the 10 billionth time? We don't care. Or you turn on Fox Sports, and no matter what's going on in the sporting world, they're talking about LeBron because they're out in L.A.
Yep.
I mean, who needs to hear these, you know, this stuff? I like the local stuff. So anytime there's a local show, I grew up, again, when we would drive to and from church, even when we moved away from Lincoln, we would drive back to Zion and go to church. And so I would listen to the sports writers on KMOX or on WGN coming home from church. Mm-hmm. And so to me, because they talked about, you know, the local area sports, and that's what I wanted to hear about, you know. And so it was coming out of St. Louis, you could hear about the Cardinals, or coming out of Chicago, you'd hear about the Bears and the Cubs. And